I have two questions here, so I'm going to combine them into one answer. Frederick asks, what are the best vintage consoles to collect for on the cheap for someone just starting out? And then also Jeff asks, with the trend of the used gaming market, what consoles do you feel give the most bang for your buck in terms of collectability and fun factor? So great question. I actually get this a lot. And at the end of the day, I say it's whatever system you are passionate about. Because unlike maybe a decade ago, today you're probably going to have to compete, especially if the games are sort of rare or hard to find or collectible or in demand. And so, having a system that you're passionate about will go a long ways, because sometimes that can be very frustrating. You might have to pay more than you want to, or maybe hunt more than you want to, or do more trading than you want to get the games you want. But I feel like both of these questions are kind of saying, I'm not really biased. I just want to know what's fun to collect for. I would say that if you are, in your 20s or early 30s, it's probably tougher for you to go back and collect for some of the really old systems like the Atari 2600 or the Intellivision or the ColecoVision, only because you won't have the attachment that I had. The Atari was my first console, so when I play those games, even though they're very simple and basic, I still love them and I still feel like a kid again. But for a lot of gamers, it's kind of tough to go back and deal with those very simple games with just one or two buttons and very simplistic graphics. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying in the grand scheme of things, you may not want to start there unless you get like a heck of a deal on a lot. Instead, what you might go for is the Genesis. I think the Genesis is one of the most underrated consoles of the 16-bit era. Typically the games are cheaper than they are on the Super Nintendo, although in recent years the Genesis has become more expensive, and that's fairly recent, but there are still a ton of games that you can get for that system that not a lot of people know about. I think it's actually a great place to start. And then outside of that, consoles in general, I still stand by the PlayStation 2. I think the PlayStation 2 has some of the best games ever released for it, the most genres released for it, no matter what you like to play, whether it's driving games, role-playing games, shoot-'em-ups, first-person shooters, everything, sports games. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're all on the PlayStation 2, and the vast majority of them are still relatively inexpensive to collect for. So I definitely recommend that. As a matter of fact, I have a buying guide for the PlayStation 2 I did with Kinsey, so I'll put that up here in the corner. Great question. I'd love to know what you guys recommend to the new game collector, both more recent consoles and also vintage consoles. What do you think? Great question. Thanks a lot. This question was asked by one of my Patreon contributors who also helps support my YouTube channel and videos. I want to thank you very much. In addition to being able to ask me questions like this in a private message board, you also get early access to all of my videos and some other really cool perks. If you're interested in checking it out, please go to patreon.com/MetalJesusRocks.